Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. So Tim Tszyu returns with a win, I suppose a much-needed win. Stops Joey Spencer in 4 rounds. And if you've seen Spencer before, you know he's an okay fighter. There's nothing great about him. He's all right, you know. But very much a couple of levels below what Tszyu should be beating at world level. Now, that's not a knock on Tszyu, because after 2 bad defeats, he needed someone that was, shall we say, less threatening. The 2 defeats that he had were bad for different reasons. Against Fundora, as you probably know, he had that horrendous gash on top of his head. I don't know what his team were thinking by not only allowing Fundora in as a substitute when the original opponent pulled out, but also not having a rematch clause in the contract, which is... yeah, it's a strange decision. And then, of course, he got absolutely smashed to pieces by Bakran Murtazaliev. 3-round blitz. I mean, he was down 3 times in round 2, once in round 3. Never at the races, and afterwards seemed absolutely shell-shocked. But so he needed a guy who was not world-class, but might take him a few rounds and had a glossy record. And Spencer came in with 19 wins, 1 defeat. But most notably, the defeat was 4 fights ago, I want to say. 2023, he fought a guy called Ramos Jr. And got stopped in 7 rounds. It was pretty much dominated from start to finish. So when it came to anything world level, Spencer didn't look like he had the natural ability. Although he's an okay fighter, there's nothing wrong with him, he's just not world level. So I'd say that this was actually a good bit of matchmaking for Tszyu. And sure enough, when he came out in the first round, he was very, very conservative. I mean, the polar opposite of when he fought Murtazaliev. He seemed to have the hubris of someone who just thought he'd have to turn up against Murtazaliev. I'm Tim Tszyu. Everybody loves me. I'm a big deal. You know, this was an IBF title fight. He'd lost his WBO title against Fundora. And I think the WBC vacant belt was on the line as well, because Fundora picked that up, didn't he? So, yeah, you know, all things considered, that was a bad decision for me. But I'm going to just turn up and slap Murtazaliev around. Not a bit of it. Murtazaliev smashed through him. So he needed a confidence builder, because in the opening round he did look, like I say, very conservative. Now, if I'd been Spencer, easier said than done, of course, what I'm about to say, but you would think you want to bring back a few ghosts, you know, with Tszyu. You want to make him remember the last time he was in the ring, getting virtually humiliated by a guy he was supposed to beat. And Spencer did the exact opposite. Spencer himself was very reticent, few feints, quite happy to have the distance between them. He wasn't jumping on Tszyu. He wasn't forcing those possible ghosts to start haunting him again psychologically. He just, you know, walked around the ring, fired maybe the odd punch. I mean, it's very, very low output from both fighters in the first round. But in other words, he allowed Tszyu to get comfortable, which was, I don't know what he was thinking, Spencer. Did he have any tactics? If so, what was it? And hopefully it wasn't, well, we're going to take him into deep waters and drown him, because it's not like Spencer has got a massive experience going into the later rounds himself. And, of course, this was in Australia. So, yeah, it was Spencer sort of kind of tactically at least dug his own grave. Well, in the second round, it was... I mean, there wasn't a lot of activity in the second round, but at least they were letting their hands go a bit more. And sure enough, Tszyu, who looked bigger and physically stronger than Spencer, I mean, Tszyu is 30 now, so he's probably as big as he's going to get. He was, I suppose they were letting their hands go a little bit more, but again, it wasn't particularly exciting. A little bit dull, a little bit cat and mouse. And it wasn't really until the third round that a fight broke out, really, I suppose. But it was gradually. It was so obvious to tell that Tszyu was trying to ease his way into the fight. You know, and he was being allowed to do it by Spencer. Now, Spencer may not have had the talent to put it on Tszyu. Maybe if he'd been more cavalier and if he'd been all out, he'd have got knocked out. You know, because Tszyu clearly physically stronger, bigger puncher. Tszyu's got 18 KOs now. Well, now 18 KOs in 25 wins. But with the tactics that Spencer had, he was going to get knocked out anyway. He was going to get stopped anyway. Or at the very least, he was going to slip into, you know, survival mode and do nothing. Just see the distance out. In actual fact, once Tszyu got his confidence together and found his rhythm, found his timing, he went to work. And he was landing. There were, the third round, there was an exchange of punches. There was some exchanges of punches, but Tszyu looked like the guy who was going to be dominating. And sure enough, that's what happened. He gradually took over. And in the fourth round, he clipped Spencer, and suddenly, you know, the lid came off the pressure cooker. At the moment he stung Spencer, he went after him, barrages of punches, pushed Spencer around the ring, looking so much physically stronger. Tszyu was. Never mind the punch power; it just looked like he could bully and ragdoll Spencer if he wanted to. And then the odd punch came back from Spencer. Desperation punches, really, but Tszyu was throwing salvos, knocking Spencer all over the perimeter of the ring, got him on the ropes. The referee, you could see the referee saying to Spencer, "Show me something," and Spencer would throw the odd punch back, but Tszyu just ignored it, really. And it was such an endless avalanche of punches that the towel came in from Spencer's corner, ending what was an unspectacular fight. The ending was okay, but there wasn't really much. I mean, we're not going to learn anything about Tszyu from this, where he's at in world level, because this was really, like I say, try to sort of mend the fractured confidence. It was one of those fights. So I don't think this really tells anything about Tszyu at all, but it was a necessary standard of opposition for him to ease himself back into world level, get a guy who's not a world beater and kind of look good getting rid of him. And that's essentially what happened. So I don't know, you tell me. I know a lot of you guys from Australia. Tell me what you think of Tszyu. Where do you think he's at the moment? What do you think of this fight? Do you think it served its purpose? I don't know, you tell me. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Please like the video if you liked it, and hit the subscribe button as well, because you're helping us out. And yeah, I'll catch you later. Bye for now.